everybody. Welcome back to your Monday Morning Jumpstart with Ted Capshaw. Hi, Ted.
What's happening?
So a very popular topic last week, goal setting, New Year's, SMART goals, all those things. But I think a very important piece that comes almost before setting goals sometimes, right, is the piece of slowing down and reflecting as to where you are at in that moment in order to set those goals. So any advice when it comes to slowing down and reflecting? And I mean, is there a time that it's not even right? It seems like all time is right for this.
I would say all time's right. I'm not so sure we're good at it, right?
Yeah.
And I should always say, and I frame this up by saying that this is coming from a lens of a coach that's, with individuals and teams every day, all day. But I'll speak for myself. I'm not good at slowing down and reflecting. And sometimes the main reason is that there was something that I was introduced probably at the lowest time in my life, which is, 24, 25 years ago at this point. And I was just running really hard, not in a good way. And a mentor of mine said, slow down, come down. And he was basically saying, you're running, you won't slow down because you're afraid of all the thoughts and the fears and all the things that are going to come into your brain when you actually just sit for 10 minutes. And so I would actually just start with this idea. The first reflection I'd want you to do, when is the last time that you just sat in silence for 5 minutes and allowed the thoughts, the feelings, all of it just to come without going up? I pick up the phone or up. I don't like that feeling. So on to the next thing. And this is where all those divisive behaviors come, right? We say we don't have time for stuff, but yet as soon as we allow all those things to come in, we go and we divert, right? And so the first reflection I'd want people to do is just like, what's prohibiting you from just sitting for 5 or 10 minutes? Is it guilt? Is it fear that you should be doing something? Is it the fear that I'm speaking of, which is more deep-seated, which is, I don't want to think about all that stuff. And so first reflection would be, are you doing it? Right? Because it's one thing to talk about it. We talk about a lot of stuff, but just like the SMART goals thing, right? We talked about it last week. You can talk about SMART goals all you want until you put pen to paper and actually see if you're actually creating them. We could talk about slowing down. So the first reflection is just, are you doing it? Try doing 5 minutes. And it's not meditation. That's not what I'm referring to. It's just simply, I can tell you definitively in the past 2 weeks, now that I'm being honest, I don't think I've sat down for 5 minutes and just said, phew, what's what?
Like a download.
Yeah. And in that download, allowing all the things to come, right? And that could be fear. It could be immense amounts of joy that you slowed and reflect upon the win. And you're going to need that energy, that juice to continue to go, as we talked about those goals and making those stretch goals last week and all those things. That slow down and reflection is going to give you some of that, because the flip side to what I'm talking about, the deep side about letting the fear and all that anxiety and stuff come in, and then we don't want to just run from it. The flip side is, do you celebrate enough?
Exactly.
Most of us don't, right? We don't go, man, I killed that last week, and giving ourselves like that energy to say, look, I did it. Now I'm going to go get a repeat. So I guess this one, for me, Jade, is just like probably the most important part of this Monday Morning Jumpstart for me would be just to sit. When is the last time that you sat down?
And it's we've talked about these actions, a lot, but it's one of those ones that it takes so little time, but the results that it yields are so, it's like there's no words to describe how much they help your overall life. And I'm not saying it needs to even be every day, but it is amazing, like the realizations that can come to you. Sometimes you've been running so much that you realize, hey, I'm actually okay, and I'm away from that thing that I was running from, or like I'm in a better place, or, oh, look, like the world doesn't end when I just stop and I'm not on something for 5 minutes, like so many things. It's so funny. I had a reflection recently, like, and again, because I told Ted before this, like I had some time to like just sit with myself and be quiet. And a strange realization that I had is like, sometimes I'm trying to get goals that are so big, and I have to remind myself of my age. Does that make sense? Like I was like, where you're at in life, like you're good, like you've done great things, you're accomplished in certain places, like you're good. Like don't worry about looking at like Jeff Bezos and like he's doing all these things and like you know what I mean? Like I just had this like, okay, where you're at right now is so good. Like how much is that giving me peace for those 5 minutes that it took for like the rest of who knows how long, right? And yeah, I even shared with some friends. We were at dinner and they were like, oh, well, we just have, we have our house and we wanted a bigger house and we thought by now we'd have more kids and a bigger house. And I said, whoa, hang on. We're young. There's so much time for these things. You can always time enough to get the bigger house, always time enough to save up for the things, right? Like, so just take a breath. And it's so like it was like at the same time, it was a breath as well as a reflection and taking that moment, which yes, yielded results.
Yields results. Could take us back to last week, the goals. I love what you're saying about this, like appropriate. Go back to the SMART goal, the attainable thing, and all of what we're trying to do. What you were just saying reminds me of the latter part of last year. I was coaching an up and coming salesperson for an organization that I work with. And he's 27 years old, has a goal to be a millionaire by the age 30. And it was just a goal. Now, look, he could possibly achieve it because he's one of the top salespeople in a multi-billion-dollar organization. But when I peeled back, like, what does that mean? There was no meaning behind it. The truth be told, like if you're a millionaire by age 30, you're going to have more money than you possibly need if you do right with it by the age of 50 or 60. Now, here's the thing. The conversation quickly turned to, well, where's your focus? Like your 20s should look and feel differently, man. Mm-hmm. Your responsibilities are going to be upped when you go and get married. You're a single guy, you're married, have kids and all the rest of this stuff. Like right now, how much of life are you enjoying? Are you just quote unquote grinding it out to become a millionaire by the age of 30? The answer was he was grinding it out to be a millionaire by the age of 30. So to your point, again, this slow down reflection is about like, where am I? Or am I appropriately living for my stage in life? Am I focused on the things that I should be focused on? Am I running from stuff? And there's always deeper seated questions underneath of that. Like, why are you driving to be a millionaire by the age of 30? You just want to tell people you're a millionaire at the age of 30? Or what the hell does it mean?
Well, I have a question on the back of that for you, Ted, and almost in line with last week's discussion around goals. When is it the right time? When do you feel like it's appropriate to like give it up? Like to give up on that goal? Like what, like that's so difficult sometimes. Like, is it not right? Is it not achievable? Or have I just not been working hard enough? Like, how do you assess that of when it's time to give up on a goal?
Yeah. There's a deeper discussion there, which we talked about on a couple episodes last year, which is the vision piece. Sometimes we're coming up with goals and we don't know if it's aligned with what the bigger outcomes are that are aligned with our vision. But a lot of people don't want to give up on goals. And I think that's kind of what you're asking. Like, yeah. Look, I said I was going to do X, Y, and Z, and this, I'm okay with people giving up on goals. It doesn't mean you're lost. Now, what I'd say is the most important part of this is the topic that we're talking about today, which is the reflection piece. Like, did I overshoot? Does it mean anything anymore? Is it relevant to what I'm really trying to achieve or be? Right. And if the answer is no, just because you wrote down the goal and it seemed really important 3 months ago does not mean it's important to what's happening in your life now. If we learned anything in the past 3 years, it's like life is swirling and changing around us very quickly every day. And so I'm good with that, Jade. The answer of when, I can't answer that. You got to answer that to yourself. But I think that's why I'm saying it's so important that you're doing what we're proposing today, which is slow down. Actually pull out. This is why we said write the goals down. Pull the piece of paper out. Is that relevant anymore? Is it leading to what I'm, and if it's not, reset the goal, right?
Yeah, awesome. So then it sounds like today's homework is if you haven't recently, take 5 minutes. And I feel like keep challenging yourself for more time, but 5 is a great time to start. I've even done it where I've actually set an alarm, and you'll even do this thing where you're like, oh, is my phone broken because, it hasn't gone off yet? Because it is amazing how slow time goes. Okay, so take some time, reflect, take a breather, download however you want to frame it up, and then move on from there from whatever you're feeling in that moment. Does that sound right?
Perfect.
Okay, We will see everybody next week. And I think next week is another message that helps everyone just exhale a little bit. It's just about starting small and itching towards something. And we will talk more about it then, but see everybody then. Bye, Tim.
Cool.